All right, I would like to call the meeting to order with Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, on this pre-spring evening. Roll call. Mr. Schobert.
And we have Owen.
Yes.
Odie. Yep. Hayward. Klatt. Yes. Schrader.
Yep.
Thank you. Next, that takes us to the approval of the agenda. If there are no changes that need to be made, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented tonight. So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. There are no conflict of interest disclosure or waiver requests to approve tonight. That takes us to the approval of the regular board meeting minutes from February 13th and February 27th. I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented.
So move.
Second. There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. There is no community input tonight, which takes us next to financial items, bills and claims. Mr. Schobert.
Madam Chair, I would note just a couple items regarding invoice listing. First, on page 1, the middle school addition architecture fees, approximately $75,000 to Art Inc. That's a portion of the 6% fee paid to Art Inc. for the middle school construction project, or that will be paid. The City of Brandon, on page 2, I would note a $20,000 expenditure for the resource officer. That's the second half of that expenditure. That's $20,000. Then the softball diamonds, also noted $2,500. And then on page 9, I would note a payment to the Sioux Falls School District Career Academy. That's for CTE, 40 slots. That's the second half of that payment as well. That's for $50,100. Regarding advanced payments, pay vouchers, and nutrition invoices, I did not have anything out of the ordinary. Jim, do you have anything to add on bills and claims? Or we would entertain it?
No, I would entertain questions.
And you said nothing on the child nutrition piece either, correct? Okay. All right. If there are no questions for Mr. Schobert, I would entertain a motion to approve the bills and claims as presented tonight.
So moved.
Second. There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That takes us to the financial report.
So, quickly looking at the cash report, I would note some interfund transfers to the general fund from capital outlay, and also the bond fund from the capital outlay to the general fund, $73,000 and change, bond fund $84,000 and change, and then from the general fund to the special education fund, an interfund transfer of $171,000 and change. I would note capital outlay is even. The bond fund still owes approximately $240,000 to, correct? $240,000, okay. Those are the items I would note on the cash report. Within the monthly receipts, I would note that the bank franchise taxes have come in and are at $547,000 approximately. We had $400,000 budgeted, so those are came in over what we anticipated. And then also I would note that last year it was approximately $250,000. So we've got about $300,000 more in bank franchise revenue this year than we did last year. So that is the items I would note regarding monthly receipts. Payroll, normal month. Revenue report, I would note there are no concerns at this time, per Business Manager Lundberg. And then he also wanted us to specify that the biggest uncertainty at this time is the utility tax. So if you note on page 1 there at the top, $850,000. At this time, nothing. I believe that comes in June. Is that correct, Jim? So would note that. Looking to the expense report, we anticipated being in that 99.5% expenditure area. Food service financial statement, I would note that we estimate a year-end loss of approximately $30,000. That is what we're shooting for, as the reserve in that fund is approximately $700,000. So those are the only items I would note. Mr. Schobert, if you have anything to add and/or entertain any questions.
Just entertain questions.
Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the financial reports as presented tonight.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. That takes us to our general business items. First, we have administration report. Superintendent Larson.
Sorry, thank you very much. Just want to provide a real quick update on the RVE principal position. We have conducted interviews. We had 8 candidates in on the 9th. We had 27 total candidates, and then also 2 additional late applications, so 29 total applicants. We will interview 3 or 4 candidates for the second round. We are still in the process of reviewing references, conducting reference checks, etc. And then the 27th, we'll have a contract recommendation for you. Want to just provide real quickly a legislative update. The good news is it's not 0%. We received a 0.3% or CPI increase to general and special education funding. Once the veto day is over, we will receive an overview of past legislation from Diana Miller, a large school group lobbyist, so she'll be able to provide us a document that provides information on all of the bills that have passed that are relevant to us. Our school accreditation is Tuesday, March 21st. It's an on-site review. We will be hosting the South Dakota Department of Education. They'll be bringing 3 individuals in, evaluating curriculum, teacher effectiveness, a wide variety of things, safety plans, safety drills, etc. That is on, like I stated, March 21st. And then just some items to note that we will have in the very near future: staffing recommendations, teacher negotiations are on the near horizon as legislative session has been completed, and then naturally salary and benefit recommendation for the non-bargaining individuals, I should state. I would entertain any questions that you may have.
Just a quick comment that I really appreciate this format. I know you've been doing this for a while, but I really like having kind of a summary of the main ideas that you want us to take away from each meeting. So thank you.
Anything else for Superintendent Larson at this point? Hearing none, thank you very much. Mr. Schobert, anything additional from the business office tonight? Thank you for joining us. High school, Dr. Talcott, anything tonight?
Nothing today.
Mr. Schleckoy? Mr. Thorson? And Mr. Skibson? Yep. Mr. Babb, anything tonight? Okay. Ms. Foster? No, thank you. Mrs. Hayden? Mr. Horst? And Mrs. Palmer? Okay. I don't see Ms. Starlow. Mr. Henschel, anything tonight? Okay. And I don't see Mr. Marceau. All right. That takes us next to our general business items. First thing we have is to approve the 2017-2018 capital outlay budget summary.
Yes, Madam Chair. First thing I want to note is the primary purpose behind approving the 17-18 capital outlay summary is so that we're able to move forward with bid processes and seeking pricing and those items. It's difficult to prioritize needs, and there's always more needs than resources, but I feel really strongly about the job that was done here. I appreciate the principal's work and Director Henschel's work on this. One thing that we do look at when we're going through this is management of projects, meaning we don't want to try and do so many projects we're not able to successfully manage all of those. So that is something that I would note. Approximately 21%, a little over 21% of the capital outlay budget is spent on technology. That includes replacement technology, new technology, and the high school one-to-one initiative. The items noted, you may note in the special education request, there were some items that were yellow, highlighted yellow. It's not that those items aren't funded, but those items will be paid for out of special education. So they came through on the capital outlay request, but they will be funded out of special education fund because they are directly meet the needs of special education kids and fit the criteria of law. I think it's also very critical to note that all projects listed may not be funded. So for example, if a project comes in at a much greater cost than we anticipate, we may have to cut one out that we originally planned on doing. And on the flip side, if something comes in lower than we anticipate, we may be able to pick up a project as well along the way. So this is ultimately a preliminary capital outlay summary, and we would entertain any questions that you may have at this point.
I think you just answered one, because the two areas that I noted where it seemed like we had the biggest gap between the request and the budget were the special services at about a third, and that was because those are able to be funded through another revenue stream.
Correct.
And then operations was about $1 million less than requested, so was there anything in particular there that we had to choose not to do that we should just be aware of?
I would say the immediate priorities are being met, and then from there we've basically set aside the items that if we can do them, they would be first up, if that makes sense. So the items that we didn't fund, we've prioritized, and if funds are available, we know that we'll go to this item first, for example.
So within operations, we're talking about building, facility upgrades and maintenance and all the kinds of things that are just running, keep everything running? Okay.
Yes. That would be, yeah. Ty, do you have anything to add specifically regarding the $1 million that wasn't funded?
No, I think you hit it on the nail, but we just had to prioritize, do the ones that are 100% necessary right now. The funds are available, keep that priority going.
Thank you.
I'm kind of a numbers person, so I looked at the bottom line of each in addition to going through these line by line, but I really liked to look at the bottom number, and I can understand, not being on target, or not having the numbers match each other by a slight difference, but one of the schools was off by $30,000, and I think that's the intermediate school, and it looks like it's because of the request for instrument storage at the intermediate school at a cost of $30,000. And I just was wondering, what do we currently have? What was asked for? Why was that one thrown out?
Certainly, great question. I asked the same exact thing. I met with each one of my directors, whatnot, went through it. When the intermediate school was built, they put in a textured press board type of storage unit, and what they are requesting, I cannot remember the name. What's it called?
Winger, and this is what they're requesting.
What is it?
Winger instrument storage, and what we put in was more like a casework material, like built-in cupboards, cabinets.
So the Winger, did I say that correctly? Okay. That's like the top of the line, high class, music storage that there is. The bottom line is that the current music storage, although maybe dinged up and beat up, is not at a point where it's not functioning. So it's a matter of we can get additional years out of our current casework and also fund other items. So that's why it fell on the priority list. But great question.
And then I have one more. I think it was Mr. Beasley, and I apologize because I don't remember which building now, a standing computer desk that wasn't very expensive. In the grand scheme of things, not very expensive. Would that be Robert Bennis? I'm sorry, I can't remember which school. Okay. Isn't that for the teacher? Oh, is it for the teacher? Or?
He's trying to switch his room around so that he has, the kids are always turning to see the smart board. So he wants to rearrange it so that computers will be turned so they face the smart board. That's what his purpose is.
And there's no way to get that done? I know it's not a question for you. Why can't we do that?
Certainly. To answer that question, quite frankly, when I went through this, I saw a request for a standing workstation. I thought you could stand up without the workstation, and it was a cost savings.
I don't know if I would agree with that. I would think that since all he's teaching is computer, and since the kids are constantly having to turn to the side, and since it would make his job as a teacher more ergonomical, I don't know if that's even the right word, I would think we could try to figure out a way to do that. I mean, if it was a $50,000 workstation, I maybe would say I can agree, but I have a hard time not going with that. Any comments from anyone else? Or questions? So we're approving the summary. This is not final. This is final.
Madam Chair, ultimately, it's preliminary, like I said, stated, a preliminary budget that allows us, you're approving, so like, for example, the $80,000 in windows at BE. That's a budget item that will have to be bid, so this approval gives us the authority to go out and seek bids for those types of items.
Thank you. I just want to, just so in case anybody else wanted it clarified, we can just have it clarified before we do it. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve the 2017-2018 capital outlay budget summary as presented this evening.
So moved?
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That takes us to our second item under general business, to approve the recommendation to accept the bid from Beckenhofer Construction for the BV Middle School office addition and remodel in the amount of $1,546,000, broken down as you see in front of you.
Very good. So, Madam Chair, first and foremost, I want to thank Ty Henschel for the work that he did facilitating and leading us through this process to the point where we sought bids. He did an excellent job, and we appreciate what he's done on this project up to that point. Did a nice job. Also want to thank ARC Inc. for their work. Obviously, when you see how closely the bids came in relation to one another, that tells you the quality of work done by the architecture firm. So we want to thank them for putting out a nice spec and doing an excellent job with that. Also want to thank all the bidders for taking the time to submit the bid. It takes a tremendous amount of time to gather all the information, put together all the numbers and submit a bid. So we appreciate all the bids. And then lastly, I want to thank Beckenhofer for being the low bidder. It would be our recommendation to approve the base bid and the alternate number 1 for roof replacement for that grand total. I would note that alt number 2 and alt bid number 3 are both items that they're foreseeable, meaning that we may have it may have had to have dealt with a change order in the future because there's some items that the architects had questions about. So versus doing a change order, they put them in as potential alternates. So we had some numbers to give us some ideas on what those might be prior to facing a change order. Ultimately, the hope is that those would be, those numbers came back better when we sought them as an alternative piece of the bid versus doing a change order later, if that makes any sense.
Just want to make sure I understand. So you're saying that you had bid those as alternates, hoping that they would come in lower than they might be, and did you feel that they did not come in lower because you're choosing not to do with those? You're thinking that it would be pretty comparable to just do it later as needed? Am I understanding that?
No, I will re-clarify. So the base bid is what the base bid is. The alt bid for number one roof replacement is an item that we need to do as long as the base bid came in low enough. Number two and number three ultimately could have been changes or change orders, or could be change orders after the project got started, because the architects identified, hey, the power refeed into this back room might be an issue because we don't know what's under the tile. So the idea was we would get a more advantageous price if we created it as an alt bid versus doing a change order later in the project. Does that help clarify that piece, why that was done?
Yes.
Okay.
But then why are we not choosing to do them?
Because we do not know if we need to do them until we tear the tiles up and see how the power comes in. And the steel anchors are ultimately exterior foundation work questions that we won't know about until we remove the dirt and see what we're working with.
So are you saying that we are sort of holding these in reserve as
Right.
a sort of a second, so these could be added later at this price if needed?
Yes, that is my understanding, yes. And the strategy was to get the most advantageous price possible for what we thought were potential change
I
orders.
think I have it now. Thank you for helping walk me through that.
So we're approving the base bid and then the alt 1, 2, and 3?
No, you're approving base bid and alt one, roof replacement. 2 and 3 are held on the side, to be determined. We're very, we can be hopeful that neither one of those are necessary.
So if they become necessary later, we're going to approve them too?
Correct, those items would be brought to the Board of Education in a much similar nature as ultimately a change order would in the event that's necessary. Our hope is that these prices, this got us the most advantageous price for the work.
Okay, so if they're coming back to us to approve, don't you legally have to rebid them? Or are you saying they're going to just be change orders?
They would be the equivalent of a change order, yes. Neither one of those items, I would note, are over the $25,000 bid mark anyway. So at this time, our recommendation is to approve the base bid with alt number one.
I move to accept the base bid of $1,546,000 and alternative number one. Or for a total of $1,546,000.
From Beckenhofer?
From Beckenhofer, yeah.
Okay, second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That takes us to our next item. I will entertain a motion to approve the Brandon Valley Board of Education members to attend the Board of Equalization meetings that will be coming up.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Personnel items, we have 4 items there to approve tonight. I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented. I have a question.
on number 1. It says that we're voting to accept the resignation of Mr. Schott, but his letter clearly says, as the math teacher and the head girls soccer coach, and his letter clearly states that he would like to remain as the head soccer coach, so I'm confused.
Please?
Prior to, or you want to?
Yes.
Agenda, or?
Go ahead, just address.
So Madam Chair, under consent item number 1, what I would tell you is that Jacob Schott submitted a letter of resignation for high school math teacher, and within that letter indicated that he would like to continue coaching soccer if permissible, if allowed by the Board of Education. Okay. What I will tell you is that the high school math teacher portion of his contract is the most substantial portion of his contract, and an individual cannot ultimately hold the school district hostage, for lack of a better term, on their extra duty and walk away from their teaching assignment. So with that being said, what we need to do, or what we are doing, and we have had professional conversation with Mr. Schott, what we are doing is we are advertising for the high school math teaching position, and we will also advertise for the head soccer coaching position, because we may need that extra duty, that head coaching extra duty, to recruit a highly qualified, top quality candidate in that type of teaching position. Call it an incentive, if you will. An individual who may be looking for that type of head coaching duty and meets the criteria of one of what we have open, high school special ed or a different teaching position that we have open. So we utilize an extracurricular duty as an incentive for applicants, for lack of a better phrase. With that being said, at the varsity level, we certainly owe it to our children to staff that head coaching position in a timely manner, because they're going to go through and make their summer workout plans, schedule their summer field time, and all of those items. So the conversation that Activities Director Marceau and I had was that our recommendation will be to accept the resignation of the teaching position as well as the head soccer coaching position. We'll accept that resignation, open both of those positions up, and then ultimately what we will do is we'll put a timeline on it of May 1st. If we have not filled the head soccer coaching position with an internal candidate, because we do want to have, whenever possible, we want to have internal candidates, teachers within our staff working as our coaches and advisors. If we have not filled that by May 1st, we will evaluate outside candidates, including Mr. Schaub, who is very strong, obviously, and does a nice job. We will include him in that and then bring forward a recommendation. So that would be my synopsis of why we are approving the resignation for both positions. I'd certainly entertain any more questions you have on that item.
Thank you for the clarification. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to accept personnel items 1 through 4 as presented.
So moved.
Second?
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. There's one item there under information only for your review for a transfer. There are no building permits tonight that I could see. A couple of Board of Education thank yous from some staff. That takes us to board reports, formal reports. Does anyone have a formal report they'd like to share at all this evening?
I'll just speak briefly about our legislative session this year. While everyone in education was convinced that the legislature was going to break South Dakota statute and not give schools a 0.3% increase raise, we need to extend our gratefulness to the Appropriations Committee, because it was the heavy-duty lifting work of the appropriators that found a way to follow codified law and maintain giving school districts a mere 0.3% increase. Stress the word mere, but we need to be thankful for any increase that we're given in a year when revenues fell short, much shorter than was to be expected. So if you know people on the Appropriations Committee, it would be great to extend a thank you. I know last year, one of our representatives was on, Mr. Hager was on the Appropriations Committee, and I think that he still is, and I think Deb Peters, perhaps, from Hartford. If she's not an appropriator, she's maybe on the Senate Finance Committee. But anyway, the appropriators worked their tails off to make sure that school districts could get sort of what we deserve.
Thank you for that report. Does anyone else have anything tonight on reports? If not, then at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session due to South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2.1 to conduct a superintendent evaluation.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? All right, as soon as the room is clear, we will go into executive session. Thank you for coming.